Split. Nick Boy, I'd love to have you break down this game and our next one, if you could, please.
Oh, what timing! We've had a small microphone issue that we got sorted right away.
No, hang on a second. I don't even know if my mic is working. Hello, hello, hello.
I think we're good.
Bryce has literally got off the couch
And boom!
thrown the earpiece behind the couch. So, hey, he got off the couch late.
Yeah.
He's thrown the earpiece behind the couch and he's broken the microphone.
And the microphone just split. And but now we're
So
professionals.
obviously, no friends in the shoutcasting business.
No.
He's not a security guard. He's holding it in place.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering.
Well, look, otherwise it goes out here. That's not a microphone.
No.
We need to. Yeah.
We need technical support. Someone bring in some gaffer tape. We're going to move on, though. Now, patch 9.2 happened. We've had some big changes. We've got a new champion. I'll start with Rusty.
I think you should, yeah.
Obviously, new season and stuff and everything, but, you know, let's say, what are the two things about 9.2 for both of you, and Jake's buying some time to think about it, that stand out in this patch that could be game changing?
I'm not sure where Spawn's going to go with this, but there are a couple of things that I know Ejim was very passionate about, and he feels the same role as me, so there's a chance that we would share those feelings for the most part. Now, number one is Cassiopeia. Has seen some changes, we'll call it, but I feel like it's a 1%er. It's a nerf.
She was nerfed.
But it definitely was a flick on the wrist. And try not to do that again. I think she's still going to be a little bit
I mean, she got
too
2-second
powerful.
cooldown added to her level 1 miasma. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
It's only a 16-second ability, so that's 18 seconds.
Was Bryce taking this more seriously?
No, Bryce also thought it was a flick
Right.
on the wrist.
It's not
They're
a
very
real-
disappointed. So the reason they're disappointed is Cassiopeia, very front champion.
Yeah.
She's a must ban at the moment. You give Cassiopeia through, she's very good. Top mid, 80 carry. So, you know, people were hoping that she would go back to pro play worthy, which means that she probably needs a further nerf. But in saying that, I also don't want to see her gutted.
Did you just say she got a 2-second cooldown added to her level 1 miasma?
Well, all of her miasma.
Well, like, yeah, but who cares? She just cues you in lane and just throws stuff at you. It's obnoxious. That's my point with this change. It's obviously like she could have been slapped much harder.
But I think what Riot points is, right, and is that so the thing about Cassiopeia right now, for those that don't know what we're talking about, there's a new Q max build out there. Even if you go normal tier build now, you generally still just max Q, even if you're not going to go to the Ludens Echo build. Then people are maxing W second. I think the real problem is that she either needs to be hyperscaling damage dealer, which is what she used to be, with very low utility, or she needs to have very high utility, and they need to nerf her damage numbers. Now, they take away all of her fantasy, character if they get rid of her damage numbers. So I think they're just trying to tap her utility down. Utility is really hard to tap down, because you don't want to turn another person into Karthus. Where, Karthus in the old days was known for Wall of Pain and he's hyperscaling. Now Karthus is just known for Dark Harvest, press R. Trust me, best Karthus player in the world is his jungler, and I'm sure if we ever see it, he is so good at hiding in red pit and pressing R. By far, Swaith is the best push R Karthus in the world.
Is the nerf enough to get her out of insta-ban territory?
No,
No, not at
Absolutely
all.
not.
And that's the problem, is we wanted other areas to potentially be tackled, like mana pool, perhaps, if you're going to go for that build, you have no
But
mana, or Q damage or something.
the thing is that, I don't want to hijack your segment. But
hijack away.
No one has mana pool issues at the moment, because mana flow banned is a stupid mastery, and everyone that did have mana pool issues now just runs Biscuit as well as Time Warp Tonic if it is worse than what mana flow ban can make up for. I take mana flow ban on Kate Nash in bottom lane, because it's just that good of a mastery, especially now that they got rid of
The runes are...
they've nerfed down Absolute Focus a little bit more as well.
Yes.
Mana flow ban is just a no-brainer to be able to pick up at the moment.
That's true.
They should have consulted you. Your number one change that you don't like, that isn't Cassio related?
The change that I really like is the fact that they nerfed Galio.
Right.
Because I have
Self-indulgent.
quite possibly one of the better Galio players on the server, and we will not see Galio in his current strength, as speaking as an order person, and now maybe he's been nerfed a little bit. We might get to play Galio again, maybe. Please, Bryce, or
If
someone,
you're
don't
lucky.
ban Galio.
Maybe.
Chiefs, don't ban Galio, please.
Rusty, what else stood out?
Rakan is the other one that I had in my mind that I know that Ejim shares with me on this feeling. Rakan has just been hard boomed by this patch. He was so good. His biggest strength in competitive as well was the fact that he is reliable engaged. Not a lot of other champions.
Not
have that.
reliable. He's guaranteed engaged.
Guaranteed engaged. Like the other best champions, Malphite's the other one that comes to mind. You can still dodge that, you know? Like you cannot dodge the Rakan engage. And so what they've done to compensate is they've reduced him down to a snail's pace when he dashes forwards, opposed to the really fast speed. And now it feels like they've gotten rid of all the strengths he had outside of the full team fight combo.
So, Battle Dance or no, Grand Entrance. I think it's Grand Entrance. Grand Entrance is his W. That's the one where he dives forward and knocks everyone up. The thing about that is you can flash it. Very flashable skill. Even on the old speed when it was quick, it's a very flashable skill because there's a little delay. He dashes in, little delay, knock up. So you can flash it. If you're a Vayne, you can maybe tumble out of it. The problem is that his ultimate just allows him after that to run around at 150 miles per hour and collect 5 members and bring them all back together with his charm. He's just a dashing, charming fellow.
He's a dashing, charming boy.
Yeah, so I think that, this is one of those nerfs that kind of guts him as opposed to addresses the problem, which is, maybe make the CC minus 25.25 second duration or something like that. Last change is jungle. Apparently they didn't like junglers to be higher level than solo laners. I don't know why. So it's impossible now. I had a game last night where I played Vi with Gwynsu's Rageblade, who farms real quickly now as well, and you go hell with blades and you 3-hit people.
Yep.
Real fun. But I had like 15 kills in that game and was not the first to level 18. Like, it is impossible to get first to level 18 now as a jungler, no matter what you do. I despise the change. I will play jungle. I will play 80 carry for this whole season if jungle stays this way. Like, it's just so hard to hard carry from the role. Like, it now feels like you get punished as a jungler if you take kills. Like, you should just give them to your laners. Like, you can't carry games.
And
The new support.
And so your second thing that you like from this?
Oh, that I like?
Yeah.
80
it doesn't
carry.
need to be if you don't. You
Because I dislike the jungle changes real bad. So I like the 80 carry facts that we're going to get crit items back next patch, hopefully. So
that's true.
Fingers crossed.
Bryce, you had strong opinions when we were talking before broadcast.
We've kind of hit on them. The Cassio and the Rakan one, I think are the biggest ones. Because, I mean, I can further the Rakan conversation slightly. Obviously, like there's rune stats as well, which I think is another big one. Like adding more defensive tools, you just get more armor and more MR. If you're literally last night, like Jake's talking from his experience. Last night I laned against a Vel'Koz. What was it? It was like a Vel'Koz Cassio lane, and now I can just start the game with like 16 MR, which feels real good. But like the Rakan nerf, he like the way to think about it. A lot of people over the course of time, every time Rakan gets hit, is like, oh wow, this guy's gonna be garbage without Xayah. But then, like, people are still playing, like, Kalista Rakan and things like that. But and you can still play him with maybe a Vayne or something that isn't Xayah. But I think now this might be the time where he is literal garbage because his lane is already very bad unless you have Xayah in your comp.
And Benji, what about you?
Look, I'm Silver, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to have an opinion in this discussion.
You're
but,
not. We'll get into the
me,
next game. I'm kidding. Go ahead, please.
I was going to say, I just ban Yasuo all the time. I don't even know why. I just do it because I don't like playing against it. So Cassiopeia, not my games. I see a lot of Zed and Master Yi's, so, yeah.
Actually, this is a really good patch for, like, silver games because Master Yi farming jungle now is no longer effective. So maybe Riot's big brain.
Look, unless Jace gets buffed, I don't even read patch notes, to be honest with you. I'm on trick.
Alrighty. Cool. All right, well, let's move on now with the games that we've got coming up at the schedule. This is, of course, Bombers versus Legacy. And a reminder as well, if you watch on os.lolesports.com, you get cool prizes just for watching the game that you're already watching. So you can just move from Twitch, you can move over there, and you can get XP, you can get Blue Essence, you can get emotes, you can get icons, all sorts of cool stuff. But let's run through this lineup. Let's go with Bombers first. Jake, you can take this.
All right, cool. Bombers, of course, have Western Way as their coach. The double Korean top side of the map with Mimic and Volcan. Ryoma in the mid lane. FBI and Rogue make up the two halves of one of the most dangerous lanes in the league, if not the most dangerous. Started off right with a 2-0 week against both Mammoth and Order last week. Have to say probably Order pushed them further than what Mammoth did. However, I won't say that because that sounds a little bit biased. I'll let someone else say it. However, coming into this week, FBI has let me know that he's maybe feeling a little bit under the weather. So I walked past him in the hallway and he said, make sure you mention that I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. I don't know why he asked me to mention that, but apparently FBI is feeling under the weather. Vic, I said it.
So he was basically saying, I'm going to play shit. I just want everyone to know up front.
Maybe.
It sounds like
Are we worried that he's going to hurl?
I hope not.
That would, I mean, I feel like that would probably
FBI
get
is
front
actually one
page
of those
rated.
players. Like this is really big tangent, right?
Yeah.
But FBI is one of those players that I actually really enjoy because you see him mature as a human being as like he's been a pro player for longer and longer. Like he was one of those guys on Sin I heard that needed a lot of help with like a lot of different things. Ordered a lot of Uber Eats. Continued to mature on like Sin. Then like obviously came to Order, and I think only has continued to take that step forward now on Bombers and is growing into a leader. And I think after last week, like if anyone wants to debate that he's the best 80 carry in the league, I will sit down over a coffee and debate that for a very long time because he had 2 brilliant games.
I think your only challenge maybe specifically in team fights Rays,
Yeah.
right? But like that's probably where the extent of that argument could even go from that point.
Absolutely.
And now we can see how he plays when he has the sniffles. Of course, he's going up against Legacy. Rusty, who's on Legacy?
Well, let's find out who's on Legacy. It's still the same people as last week, of course. We've got Danny in as the coach of the team. Paprise, the man who they fully believe in the top lane as well. You've got Guts finally playing in the OPL, Chaz in the mid lane, and Pradith and Crazy, 2 people role swapping down in that bottom lane.
And this is a lineup that I think a lot of people has question marks, and I kind of raised all my flags last week. And, I will start a slow apology here. I feel like a couple of other members will earn one by the end of the split, but Paprise had a really good game against the Direwolves. On that Vladimir, he was a monster.
Yeah, absolutely. Paprise is the player that you have to watch in this Legacy team for sure. He's got the Vladimir that he played, very good team fighter as well, and seems that in the first game, he didn't really show up to play. And I think a big part of this, and it's actually a very big philosophical point for a lot of pro players, is if you show up to not lose, then you won't win.
Yeah.
Whereas in the second game, he showed up to win, and that's exactly what he did with a carry performance.
Absolutely. I feel like it's because I backed them. Because I got some very nice messages from Legacy on my tips saying, like, thank you for believing in us. I feel like I gave them that final je ne sais quoi to sort of get them over the line. That's all I'm going to say.
That was it.
And speaking of spicy tips, let's check out who we tipped for this game. Bryce has got his arms in the air because it's we've got it all on the line, all 5 Bombers.
Yeah.
So-
Woo!
You were nearly really
I
right
know.
last game.
I know.
Yeah, there was some
was a clencher.
scary moments there while we're watching. But for all of us, it's Bombers or bust. And speaking of busty, let's throw it over to Ejim and Benji.
Busting. What the hell kind of throw was that, point? I'm Benji. I'm joined by Bryce, Ejim, Paul. Bryce, before we start, actually, I want to talk about something they spoke about.
Yeah, okay, hit me.
Jake said FBI is a little sick, might have a little bit of a cold perhaps. Now, I want to say something very quickly. FBI, you are in control of your own health and you're responsible for your own health. If you show up to game day a little bit sick, that's not an excuse. That's you saying you haven't looked after yourself properly and put yourself in peak performing condition. If you don't perform very well,
Cold.
that's on you. I'm not, no outs.
Look, sometimes
Thanks, Dad.
if you're getting 9 colds a year, you're probably doing something wrong. But
Yeah.
if you get like a cold every now and again,
I'm saying
is that from
don't make
genuinely-
excuses. No
No.
excuses.
This was a very like talk down sort of statement. Like,
Oh, yeah.
is it
I don't
is it
like
under your
excuses.
control? Can you avoid getting a cold scientifically, medically? Do you have like the ability to back that up?
I
Is
just
that
don't like
possible?
cop-outs. If you are sick, that's fine. Own it up and still try and perform.
That's what he did. He owned it up.
But don't be like, oh, I might play a bit bad. Don't ask for
Okay.
the out before you
Yeah.
start playing, you know?
Okay. I mean, we don't know that.
throwing
That's what
back.
he did.
I think that's a cop-out.
He's
That's my
obviously
opinion.
like ex-order player, so could have just been making gags
Yeah.
with Jake. So,
But I'm Silver. I'm not sure if my opinion's allowed to be on this broadcast, so I'll let the experts really break that one down. So, hey, we're in Champ Select for game
Yes.
number 1 here of Bombers vs Legacy, week 2, day 1, game 2.
Yep.
Getting complicated with the names.
Yeah.
A couple of bands already on the board. Zach and the Cassiopeia
Yeah.
also hitting the bench once again.
So that makes sense, right? Red side, Cassio ban, we just talked about like the changes to her in 9.2. Obviously, this is pre those changes, if like they matter at all. So Cassio ban makes a lot of sense. I want to talk about this matchup kind of stylistically. Across the board, I feel like the first game was incredibly close, but now we're hitting into like the middle part of the game. I think these 2 games, Bombers, Legacy, and then Mammoth and AV, these should be, in my opinion, very one-sided. Like this should be Bombers having a very clean victory over the lineup of Legacy. And Legacy should be trying to throw like a Hail Mary, like a curveball against these guys. And those are my expectations like coming into this.
Okay, that's fair. I agree with you. I think that on paper, there looks to be a little bit of a mismatch here. And the next game, Mammoth AV.
Yep.
I'm not sold on that one so much yet. I think that could be a closer one personally. But we'll wait and see, obviously, see how that pans out. I reckon we go If it's one favored, it's probably going to be Mammoth's way, but I think AV have a chance in that game.
Like I'm not saying like there's by all means like they have a chance, but this should, in my eyes, like if you're Bombers Mammoth, obviously Bombers have had a better start and they beat Mammoth. Bombers have had a rough setup to the year. They had two difficult games in Mammoth and Order. Now Legacy should be easier for them. I feel like we've run through the draft fairly quick, and we probably have to hit off the bans so far.
Let's power through it. So Zach, Akali, Aurelia hit the bench, and Aatrox, Lucian, Cassio are the first bans. 2 lock-ins so far. Bombers have taken away the Urgot, priority pick so far, and the Rakan, very quickly picked up here by Legacy.
Also with Desire as well. So Legacy prioritizing the Lovers duo very highly. Zach ban is out of the bans, the only non-standard thing. Of course, Blue side has some flexibility. Guts is a very big Zach player and had a pretty good game on it last week, so that makes sense. Urgot, out of all the priorities, is just the one that's left open, so Bombers are like, yep, yoink, we'll take that. I feel like it's very likely to go towards Mimic in the top side. Ryoma probably has the capacity to play it, but he's not really an Urgot player in my eyes. I feel like he will want to be playing something in the realm of a more standard mid laner, but there is always that potential for flex.
Is that so? Obviously, Urgot, we've seen a lot of the flex being. With someone like Ryoma, he has a tendency to play these like mage carries and stuff, right? It is actually, as we say, that Lysandra is locked in. Is him being more focusing on those champions sort of a little bit of a tell for Bombers, where they might lock in an Urgot, but you're pretty sure it's going to be on Mimic, whereas with other teams, you're not so sure?
Well, I feel like the fact that there is some vagueness is the problem, right? If you can guarantee that it's not going mid as Legacy, then it's very easy. You're just like, look, like, there's no way this guy plays Urgot. As soon as there's like a little bit of a chance, there kind of doesn't matter. You have to respect that there is a chance, whether it's a 10% or like a 90% chance that he can play it from the other side of the coin, right? So as a pro player, like in my experience playing, talking to pro players, like everybody wants to be the ideal League of Legends player where you can play everything, but there is very little time in the week. I feel like now, especially with teams having to prepare for 2 teams per weekend in the OPL.
And 2 game days.
Yeah, 2 game days and 2 different teams. Your preparation for any specific team is just less. There is less scrim days in the week, so it's harder to be the quote-unquote perfect, like, very dynamic League of Legends player, so it kind of makes sense to prioritize your time somewhat, and I feel like this is what we've seen.
Yeah, we saw Vladimir locked in here. For new viewers, actually, first of all, welcome. Glad to have you here in the OPL. But how scrims usually work is last season when they played one day, usually you had a break day afterwards, right? So you played one day, you took like a day off because you need your rest, and then you got like 4 to 5 days of scrims.
Yeah.
But these days,
match day. Yeah,
match day. So match day, a day off, and then 5 days of scrims. This day is because you're doing 2 match days. We have half our teams from Melbourne as well. You got to travel. You still want that break day. You can't cut that break day. That just destroys you. And so you've got that less scrim day. So you really have to really focus on what you develop and do a lot better there. So a lot of people might not know what happens behind the scenes, so I just want to explain that for them. Let's rush through this. This is going hard and fast right now. Kai'Sa, Camille off the bench, as well as Zoe Galio. And then immediately Orianna locked in the mid lane for Legacy. I assume mid lane. Vladimir, it's going to be mid lane. And then Vayne as AD carry is being hovered for FBI, but we'll see if he locks it in.
It would be a pretty brave lock-in. Vayne, Alistar, and Desire Rakan would be a fairly rough matchup. Okay. It makes sense to hit on the bans real quick. Galio gets taken off the table. You're not going to let them, Legacy, being like through the second phase of bans and be able to pick that one up when they've already locked in the Desire Rakan. Like, it's just a no-brainer to remove that one. And on the other side of the coin, they get rid of just a priority jungler in the Camille. Legacy have held jungle till 5th pick. So this is something that doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it means there's something special. This is going to be a guaranteed counter pick here for Guts. And a bunch of the junglers, a few of them have been taken off the table so far. So we could be up for something special. I feel like Legacy is exactly the team. And exactly in this sort of matchup, this is where I would expect them to throw a curveball.
Exactly. It is the Kazakhs pick to lock in for Bombers. And the Elise is the... Wow, that is an early game jungler if I've ever seen one. Guts, one of the players on this team that looks like a really fantastic player, has picked up a very early game jungler. Legacy, perhaps looking to snowball this early game?
Certainly. This is a feast or famine. It's kind of a little bit weird. Vladimir into the Urgot, he, I think, will go Klepto, and it's more of like a greedy farm lane. It's like, Urgot isn't going to punish me that much. I will get to 3 items when he's at 2, and I'm going to be fine. And then you pair that with just a super heavy early game jungler. Very good matchups into the Kha'Zix. It's possible that if Kha'Zix gets the drop on Elise, that you can like 1v1 back and forth. Like, there is kill potential from both sides, but Elise is certainly favored in this regard. So I expect Legacy to come out of the gate swinging this game. They have the CC, they have the skirmish potential, they have a big level 6 comp.
Yeah.
And I expected there to be big early plays.
So the man on your screen right now, FBI, we had a look at him last week, and I think last week, of all the games and all the players I saw, he was the most impressive. He looked fantastic.
Yep.
He's playing 80 carries last week. Now
Yes.
he's on the Victor, a mage. We saw it last game. Didn't look very good as a champion, but now it's on FBI. What do you think we'll see out of this bot lane?
I feel like it's interesting, right? Because it's just a get through the lane against Ira Khan as best as possible. This opens up Alistar, Rogue. He's a very roam-heavy support.
Yeah.
And it allows him to open up on the map. He can rush in early Mobies, and Victor will be fine. He can laser, he can ulti the wave, stuff like that. But FBI isn't a mage player. We've seen him play Victor before, I think at League of Origin a few months back, but he is a traditional AD carry. He's not someone like a Praedyth, like a Guncrab, like a Raze, who in weird metas really likes playing, like Raze playing Ornn, Bot, Swain, all of these weird things. FBI has always been the Uzi that will just stick to playing the AD carries. So Kai'Sa was banned away, they hovered Vayne for a little bit, maybe just a bit of fun, but maybe a potential, like, actual thought there, but they shy away from it and they go towards the mage.
Absolutely. We're jumping on the rift for game number 2 of the day, Bombers vs Legacy. And joining us, the coach of Legacy, it is Denian. How you doing today, Denian?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. I got to talk about this Elise.
Yeah.
Right? I want to know, was this a pick that you came into today and were like, we've got to pick Elise, or was it sort of a reaction from seeing the draft?
I mean, we've been practicing Elise a little bit. The main thing is, I think they have some really strong top side of the map. And if we have Elise sort of countering that pressure, then we can get through the early game relatively unscathed.
And I want to ask about your opposition's composition. And you obviously just heard the conversation we were having about Victor in the bottom lane. Did you expect that from someone like FBI?
I honestly was more expecting like a Vayne or like just a traditional AD carry. I haven't really seen him do much of the mage bot lanes. But I can understand why, because they already had Kha'Zix, which is a carry jungle doing physical damage, and they probably wanted to offload that so we couldn't pick like a tanky Sejuani or something and then be really unkillable. Yeah,
so last week FBI had a great week, I must say. He played very well in the 80 carries. When you see him lock in a Victor like that, does that make you feel relief, or are you sort of concerned that you kind of not sure where this is coming from, or what's your thoughts about it?
I think it's actually, for us, I think it's pretty good, because I think FBI is the best AD carry on the server. I think other AD carries like Praedyth or King have aspects of them that is as good or maybe better, but as an overall package, I think FBI is the best. But when you put him on mages, I think you lose a lot of the things that make him the best player in that role.
Because there's a lot of like very deep like habits when you play like AD carry for literally years, and then it doesn't necessarily translate to mages. Like you as yourself, an AD carry player from a long time ago, you would know that. I want to ask you about kind of your team, not so much this game, but just overall. Like how is it feeling coming into this split? For Legacy, it was a big rebuilding year, and you have a bunch of like rookie, untested players. Like last week, Paprise had a very good performance. Watching our Legacy, like we heard your comments on him as a player. Like how is it feeling? Like how is the house back at home?
I think it's good. The main thing is it's pretty positive. Everyone's feeling like we have a direction that we can go towards.
Yep.
We have like a future that looks really good, and right now it's all about building that foundation. We have a lot of players that didn't know like a lot of the fundamentals about the game, and that's what me and Tim are spending a lot of the time with them with. It's just to build that fundamental understanding of how you play the game. So like there are certain ways to play the game that are just more optimal, and we try to get them involved in thinking about the game in that way.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck in this game, and obviously your game tomorrow as well, and hope you have a great showing.
Thank you very much.
Having a look at this game here, we've had a pretty standard start so far. Ejim, anything caught your eye?
Nothing in particular. Junglers are kind of just trading sides of the map. It's going to be one scuttle apiece, so nothing has happened so far. Elise always has kind of potential for a level 2 gank. It is super greedy, can go for that cocoon, and it is very unexpected. They do have, at least on the top side of the maps, almost ungankable lanes. There's no early CC in the Orianna. Lissandra can wave clear from like pretty far away, as can Urgot. So
Kha'Zix coming in the mid lane here.
He's
Looks
low.
like a little opposition. Riemma's low on health. Chaz trying to get the solo kill. Flash away from Chaz.
And that is a pretty ballsy move, honestly. Absolutely no idea where Elise is on the map, but they just get the trade they need. This is obviously pre-planned. They don't have to burn a single summoner, and Volkan just gets in behind them. So this is fairly disastrous from the Orianna. He will lose the majority of this wave. This isn't a TP match in the mid lane. You expect a champion like Lissandra to go towards that TP. Chaz, because of the CC chain of like an Alistar and the Lissandra, has to pay the cleanse tax. So Guts coming over, he's going to feel okay about picking this one up. It does mean he shows himself on the map, which is kind of a jungler's worst nightmare, but the XP is very valuable. CS is even in the mid lane, but XP lead's certainly downtrodden here for Chaz.
Yeah, it is obviously in the bot lane. Zaya Rakan, a little bit of a CS lead there. Top lane here, Mimic doing a bit of trading here with Paprise. We saw Paprise's Vladimir last week. It looked phenomenal. I wonder if he can pull out a performance like that again today, Bryce.
Yep, certainly would be a big point here for Legacy if he could. Interesting to touch on. He has gone for the phase rush, has gone for the more combat-heavy. Oh, knockup's going to land.
Crazy gone in. That's a knockup. Predator doing much damage, but that's the trade.
Yep.
I got excited for a second there. I
Yeah.
see engages, and ooh, that's exciting.
There's certainly potential there because Rogue still has combo, right? So like they didn't want to opt in for anything further. Double W was burnt from the Zyra Khan, the Lovers bottom lane, and that is where a lot of their power budget is spent. It has been nerfed a few times, the less damage between the two. You can get less auto attacks off, but there certainly was potential. But given the fact that it is actually a Victor in the bottom lane and not something that can step up super early, he just wants to farm. He has TP advantage, so he can kind of cheat tempo and look for an extra recall that the Zyra Khan can't. We just want to play it slow and steady for the most part.
Yeah, this early game here, I think the key thing, the two key people to watch, the Elise and the Kazakhs. So the Kazakhs already ganked mid, and it was very successful, forcing the flash out of Ori. He's got to repeat that gank to really get anything really great out of it. Guts on the other side hasn't made a real big play yet. But when he does, if he has high impact, it could be fantastic for Legacy here.
It certainly can, and Elise is one of those champions that if she's second to a gank, she is incredibly good, especially with a squishy champion like Kha'Zix that kind of has to jump in, unless he gets randomly behind you, which probably shouldn't happen more often than not. And Lysandra as well, she has to E forwards to go looking for this gank. She has to commit to the play. If you don't know Elise is counter ganking and then she's behind you and she can like flash cocoon, that is a very easy turnaround. So I expect that to sort of be the game plan so far, but Bombers are making Guts' life miserable right now. The early gank into the mid lane means that they have absolutely no mid pressure. They all of a sudden have priority bot, and then Rogue walks up. Whilst Volcan is on the bottom side of the map, they're getting wards in the bottom side jungle, so there's absolutely zero opportunities for Elise down here. And now Guts on Elise is just farming the early game. This is 6 minutes. There's been absolutely zero potential for ganks on the map. Mid lane is untouchable. Mimic has had like relative safety on the top side, and Vlad, he's not going to punish him one by one. This is cheeky, though.
Oh, Rogue's gone in.
Here we
Flash,
go.
headbutt in. In fact, Flash, but Raiders gets out. Looks like they will, yep, he'll escape with his life there. Well, one thing I do want to point out with, I was going to say Elise, but actually all Transform champions have deceptively high burst. Nidalee, Jace, and a third one I'm forgetting about, the Elise, of course. Because they have 6 abilities, if they can hit you with their CC and they combo into you, you die very quickly. Elise's Cocoon into her Spider, into a Q, then Spider form, lunge at you. You take a lot of damage very quickly there. So keep an eye on that Elise. She will blow people up very fast, especially early on.
And she's definitely just a feast or famine champion. So this early game for Legacy, whilst they do have scaling options, Orianna, very good. Vladimir, very good. Zyra Khan, also very good. They really want to make things happen early. I do want to touch on that bot gank very briefly. I feel like that was almost a guarantee play. A little bit of misexecution. We're now nitpicking here, but that was a very slow W from Rogue. He kind of half committed to the play. He didn't know whether he wanted to flash W immediately. Hex Flash, though.
Coming out. He's flashed past. There's a headbutt. Pulverize on Desire. He's going in. Predator's slowed. He's stunned, and he's dead for first blood for Kazakhs.
That's just a very nice return gank. They have the pink ward in the Tribush. Volcan gets to the play. Hex Flash. Rogue is definitely a Hex Splash connoisseur, man of my heart here, and gives you opportunities that you otherwise wouldn't have. Gets behind the Xayah with a flashless 80 carry with no dash, with no level 6. The Featherstorm can't save him from the combo, so nothing he can do, and they're just going to buy themselves rights to the Air Dragon.
Exactly, that Air Dragon started up here. Guts is in his base. This is going to be most likely free here for Bombers. Luckily for Legacy, it's probably not as impactful as a Mountain Dragon early or something like that. So they rolled the right Dragon for them, but it's still power. It still does something here for Bombers.
Because I feel like we're, what, 1 week plus half a day into... Ooh,
wow.
That is close.
Flash Ignite coming out at the top lane. Looks like Papyrus flashing. And Mimic just using his unsealed spell Ignite there. So not actually as much invested for that one.
Yeah, interesting. To continue my point, like we've seen a lot of Earth and Fire Dragons. Like if there's an air game, we generally see very little. But if there's a fire game, it's just Fire and Earth. Like last game, that was literally all that was there. And
we won last week where it was 6 dragons and there were 3 Inferno and 3 Mountain.
Certainly best case scenario if you can pick them up. But yeah, we do have to touch on, as you mentioned, Unsealed Spellbook in the top side. It's sort of interesting. Vladimir he should be able to dodge the ulti coming out of the Urgot. Like, he will try and throw it as a surprise, but if he does throw it out, you tend to, if you maintain the ability to use your pool. Paprise, what probably happened is he throws out the ulti for the healing, so the Ignite's not going to tick him too low. He goes into pool and then just regen, so he never hits the execute threshold. Yeah. It's kind of what makes Urgot's laning a little bit obnoxious early, because he can opt in for something like the Ignite if he feels like he has kill pressure. If there's a very gank-heavy jungler, like Elise in this situation, if he felt it was necessary, he didn't, because they kept very good tabs on Guts. But if it's like a Sejuani with a CC top laner, you can opt in for the cleanse and you have this extra safety, and Urgot really doesn't use any other keystones that well, so he doesn't lose a lot to go for the spellbook, but it adds a lot of value in terms of like safety and aggressiveness.
Yeah, it's very fascinating watching the difference between these games with someone like Elise versus like a solo queue game. Because when you see solo queue games with Elise, they gank all 3 lanes. They don't even farm their own jungler. They're just everywhere. They're picking up kills. Actually, we have Elise in the bot lane here. Let's have a look at this gank.
For it.
Spotted in vision of that pink ward. Guts got, look how close he is. He knows the vision edge. Now he's way out of position now. Look, Chaz is waiting as well. There's 4 here. They're going in. Flash go in. Crazy gets the ult. They call FBI. Ignite goes down. He's walking on the turret. Guts and Chaz are just, oh my god. They are nowhere near that. And that is a lot popped for nothing.
That was just absolutely disastrous. Guts was standing out of vision for around 5 seconds, and then maybe getting a little bit antsy, steps up just slightly too close. You could see that Bombers had a very nice read. They expected the gank. Level 6 Xayah Rakan, just comp-wise, is a very obvious place for the Elise to hit. They respect it. Alistar is hard to dive. As soon as they don't get the cocoon off the back end of Rakan ulti, there's absolutely nothing they can do. But the big deal is that Legacy, they were spotted, but they still went for the play. They still blew all the resources they were looking for. That's a flash from Rakan. It's the ulti from Rakan as well. And Volkan on the other side of the map, he was already starting up the Rift Herald because they knew exactly where they were bottom side.
Engaging bot side, in fact. There's the CC going down. FBI low on health. The least taking a lot of damage as well. Ignite goes down. He's going to try and follow up. Rogue gets stunned. He has his ult running, but he's low on health. He gets taken down for a kill. But top side's where I want to look right now because Rift Herald's been dropped and that turret's going to fall.
Yep, just bashing straight into the turret. Maybe just a little bit of greed out of FBI and Rogue. They knew they were weak side of the map. Step back up to the plate. And Elise finally finds an opportunity. First kill. Guts is going to be happy about that one. But first brick going over. Almost a 20 CS lead in the top side just because Vlad can't answer these waves, and Mimic is in a very good position. He's a player that over the course of his career in the OPL has had very promising games, and last week, specifically versus Mammoth, he was literally the reason they won that game, in my opinion. So the fact that Volkan has had all this free time, he got the early gank off and then gets a free Rift Herald, which takes a lot of tempo, a big chunk, like 40 seconds of time, and they get first brick onto Mimic. This is a very good start of the game if you're a Bombers fan.
Yeah, they're up 3,000 gold as well, which is a considerable lead at the 11-minute mark. Obviously, turret plating still hasn't fallen off yet. Still got another 2 minutes of that. My question for you, Bryce, is when you look across this Legacy lineup, like what's their late game? Are they looking at that Vladimir to get there? Is there someone that's ahead that they can make work out of here, like the Ori?
I think they certainly have late game potential. This game, if it keeps trending in this sort of manner, is going to get very rough. This is a tanky lineup with the Alistar, with the Urgot, and there's a bunch of CC, Alistar, Lissandra. Like, you have options to pick in the Victor and Kha'Zix, but Legacy's comp will always have the one-hit combo. If Crazy has Flash and Bombers randomly just group up, even if they have a 5,000 gold lead, if that's Rakan ulti into the Shockwave, into a Vlad ulti, like something that Paprise showed us last week, there is always potential that Legacy will be able to just swing a team fight immediately. If they land the perfect wombo, then certainly they can get themselves out of this position, but certainly 3,000 gold lead 12 minutes into the game, that is nothing to scoff at, and Bombers are playing respectfully right now. This is a red buff take as well. You can see Guts is sort of, he kind of feels like he has to make something happen because he's already sort of missed the window. Kha'Zix is 20 CS up. He's gotten more successful ganks off, and Guts is kind of like fiending for scraps right now because he's going to become more and more irrelevant, more of a CC bot as this game progresses.
Yeah.
Which is not what Elise wants to do.
Not at all. Kha'Zix actually floating mid here. Looking at the Chaz here. Now keep in mind, Roma has got his ult. Chaz has got Cleanse though, but if they can get on top of him, the Cleanse will slow him, or the ult will slow him enough they can get on top of him and blow him up. So here's the coming in. There's the Roma going down. There's the CC. There's the Cleanse, and there's the ult going down. Chaz flashes over the wall, gets away.
Here we go, Flash Cocoon, very nice dodge.
Crazy comes flying in, they blow up. The Lissandra Ryoma goes down. That's a shutdown as well.
Yeah, that was incredibly close. The Cleanse was actually baited out with just a Lissandra W ulti afterwards. Flash gets him over the wall, but Crazy, very nice positioning on the map for someone that has only just picked up support very quickly. He was there long before Rogue, and they get to clean up. It's a 1-for-1 across the board. Summoners were burnt more so on the side of Legacy to have to answer that trade, so Bombers aren't in a bad position, but certainly Legacy gets something.
They get something for that. Praedyth in the bot lane here, he's been kind of struggling as Victor. Kind of the opposite of what we saw last game. He's down 20 CS. Ocean Drake taken by Bombers. That'll make the rest of the laning phase a lot easier for them. Inferno the next Drake. So now we start getting to the big objectives in a few minutes' time, Bryce.
Certainly that'll be spawning in a couple of minutes here, a bit before the Baron, before that becomes a big objective, something for Bombers to set up around if they can maintain this lead. Something to note is what Mimic is doing with his priority. Actually, he's just dead. That's that's a dead Orianna.
He's in the fountain waiting to revive now. And this mid lane turret here, suddenly a lot of pressure. No turret plating. These things take a lot of damage once the plating goes down. This might be the mid turret going down.
Demolish proc from both of the members here means the turret does not die on the last wave. They should just be able to auto-attack this one. Mid turret going down means a lot of map control lost here for Legacy, but I was about to say, Mimic is doing a lot with his priority. He got given the top turret with a Rift Child. And this is something for like solo queue junglers to think about. Like, a lot of people get stuck in the situation where they feel like top lane is an island. He has a very big advantage. He's down 10 CS, but he is just so incredibly strong. Vladimir only got his Hex belt, literally off the last base, but every time he gets priority, he pushes Vlad all the way to the turret, walks through topside jungle, places the wards he has. They've got a very offensive pink ward, you can see just on the other side of red. And then him walking mid gets that kill. They just hard forced onto Chaz earlier with Lysandra and Kha'Zix. He came out of base, and then upon catching the mid wave, sure, he misstepped because he got caught out by the Urgot that he should have known was there, but Mimic is just mid, right? Like, this is so much pressure from the top side of the map. He's just walked down this track, picked on the Orianna, who's already like in a very rough position. It's hard to deal with a Lysandra who has this much freedom, but they're just using their pressure and floating it all around the map, which is why this is such why this gold lead is sort of just gradually growing here for Bombers.
And look at the minimap when you get a second, and look at this vision starting to creep forward into this red side jungle. This is because these turrets are falling down. Flank might be coming out here, but they've got enough defensive vision up. But you see the red team, as they start losing these outers, start getting strangled out of the map and forced off these river objectives, the Barons, the Dragons. And those ones are big ones to take, and if they haven't got vision and aren't able to get there safely, then Bombers can basically just take them for free or have the initiative they can do stuff here.
Go.
Comes diving in. Chaz. Oh, he's solo. Takes low damage. Ults away. He's alive. Guts hits the cocoon. Looks like they'll disengage successfully.
Yeah, don't have any summoners on the side of Chaz here, but he does get out of that gank scot-free. Rogue is looking for something. Praedyth may have to ult. He does.
Does ult. Rogue does sort of get caught in a weird position, but FBI's there to back him up. Here's Ryoma. Hits the ult and CC, but Crazy gets blown up. He's dead. Praedyth low on health. No ult. He's forced back to his tier 2. This bot lane turret should fall. Actually, no minions. They're going to retreat through the jungle.
Gonna have to wait for the wave, but that was just a very nice rotation here from Bombers. They pick on mid. Chaz has to get away. They blow the shockwave. Instantly rotate down to bottom side. They have priority already. They prepared this one earlier. And now they've just broken the complete outer ring of turrets. I feel like if there is ever a point where Bombers are going to slip up, it is right now. Teams can get quite antsy at this point of the game. You take the easy turrets. At 16 minutes, before Baron is up to kind of draw Legacy out of their side of the map, if they just play respectfully, farm waves that are pushing into them, the gold lead will stay sort of like relatively the same.
Yeah.
Bombers certainly have control, but if they overcommit for an inner turret before they set up for a big objective around the Baron, like this is the point that Legacy maybe could capitalize.
One thing you mentioned there, Bombers might make a mistake here. There's in sport, in fact in gaming as well, there's two types of errors, right? There's just mistakes, but there's also forced errors,
there's forced
right?
and unforced, yeah.
Exactly. When your opponents do pressure and maybe kill vision and make you do something, that's not always a mistake. I mean, it is, but sometimes you don't have much of a choice about it, right? And so Legacy here can't be sitting back waiting for these plays to happen and waiting for Bombers to make mistakes, but they can start to look at doing things to put Bombers unease, give them positions where they can take advantage and maybe get some of these forced errors to take place.
Yeah, because personally, like the most important thing when you're behind in League of Legends is being able to predict. These guys just trading, Balkan gets a red, he's going to walk away, is predicting what your opponents are going to do. Because we sit here with God View, we can see everyone's vision, but Legacy have to make choices, right? Their wards, if they set up wards on the strong side of Bombers' map, will just be cleared and then they will have nothing. They have to predict what Bombers are going to do and then try and look for something on the other side of the map. Or if they think they can win a 5v5 under the turret, they have to set up very early, and that requires like sacking something fairly early. You have to be like, no, we can't catch this side wave because we have to guess where they're going, and then we have to set up a play very early because the team with the lead, they get all the options. Legacy, you get to make a choice, like based on what you think Bombers are going to do in that situation, then you have to match early. Otherwise, you're just going to lose out across the board. You can't just sit back, do nothing, and get starved out of everywhere on the map. You have to pick something eventually, and you have to go for it.
Does get caught here. He gets hit by Guts. He does ult himself for a bit of healing, a bit of time to get his team in. There's the ult going down. He flashes away, and he does escape for the moment. Oh, Chaz is on the backside. He's in all sorts of trouble. Ryoma in the middle of nowhere.
And unfortunately, that is the classic Tommy Lee. Team huge gold advantage. He's pushing on the other side of the map. Greeds out a little bit too much there and costs him everything.
Watch these two. They're going to come in for the flank
Rogue
most likely. Predator's in way bad position. FBI going, ulting through. There's only two of them. Forcing them off. They get the Inferno Dragon and they're scaring them right off. Ult pop there. Does escape.
Didn't have to blow any summoners from Rogue, so they maintain the flash on the Alistar. They get the ulti out of the Xayah, forcing them onto top side of the map. Mimic did TP here, so they were potentially looking for a fight, despite the fact that it was 4v5. And that was at best. Volkan was doing the Dragon, so that was almost a 3 versus 5. And Bombers with a 5,000 gold lead, 3 Dragons under their belt, feeling very confident and completely forced Legacy away.
This mid turret's going to go down. Speaking of Mimic, actually, if you're watching the POV stream, you get to watch his perspective. It's like it's Urgot day here. Obviously, we don't just pick Urgot, we do other champions. But today it just seems to be 2 Urgot games. So tune into him, and you can see his perspective. It's also good for having a look at what vision he has, and sort of seeing if you would make the same decisions as these teams do when rotating around the map.
Also, I think you wouldn't have get to see it, so I'm going to talk about something that the viewer cannot see. But out of Mimic and Biopanther, I guarantee that Biopanther does a much better Urgot impression. At League of Origin, obviously, he was on New South Wales, and I was the GM of that team, and he just walked around. Hold on.
Oh, Ryoma caught out again. Guts is just finding Ryoma in the middle of nowhere. Looking to chase, Flash going forward. There's the ult. Ryoma to self-ult.
Nice.
A lot of damage on. Oh, here comes the return. Bolker comes in, kills 2. And Chaz, he's not even going to make it to the blast plant. He's dead as well. And that time, he bought enough time to get his teammates in there.
Such a clutch cleanup here from Bombers. They collapse on the other side of the map. Tommy Lee is just doing blue buff while the rest of them do Baron. Mimic walking over as well. So this should be all but guaranteed. No jungler means no smite here for Legacy. So this should be the game exploding. 5k now to 8,000 in just the last couple of minutes. 20-minute Baron, and I said it at the top of this game, right? Like, this was Legacy. I expecting them to come in, throw a Hail Mary. The Elise was that pick. I don't think it's worked out in this regard. And Bombers, this has been a fairly clean game, bar those 2 catches onto Ryoma.
Yeah, they had the Hail Mary. They winded it back, but they never released it. Where was the play with Elise? The bot lane was sort of the first time we saw him try and make something happen, and it fizzled out. Anyway, here's the fight coming through. Explain this to me.
This is already 2 CCs missing, and Ryoma, this is honestly miss-execution galore there from Legacy. Both the Cocoon and the W from Rakan go a little bit wide. Ryoma, very nice ultimate onto the Shockwave of Orianna. Teammates collapsing. Victor, very easy cleanup at the back end, and after the first play fizzles, Legacy just keep overcommitting to that one, and they get punished.
I feel like that one as well. When you're sort of fighting in the red side jungle, it's very hard for your teammates to rotate up in time. And they had Chaz in the mid lane sort of keeping the wave pushed out. But that time he was in his own jungle, right? Legacy saw, oh, we killed him before. We made this play happen. We've got him again. Let's chase him down and keep doing this, right? Didn't work a second time.
Because it was a fine play. Like, if that Cocoon lands, then the W lands from Rakan, then Chaz gets there early, and Ryoma, instead of being inside his blue buff camp, where his team is 3 seconds closer, he's just dying in the river, right? Or at least Legacy are going to get the ulti for free, and then they can just back away. But, of course, CC did go wide, so unfortunately for them, they do get punished. Now, here is the setup. Rogue does have Flash. Lissandra doesn't, but those are going to be the 1-2 punch of Engage here from Bombers. You can see, this is something that pro teams do. You can see pings onto the wave in mid lane. Not sure who it was from, but they're just holding the side lane to try and match. They want these 2 waves to collapse at the same time. Mid lane is shorter than the side lanes, right? So the minions take a longer time to walk up to the side lane. And if you're just hitting the mid wave first, Legacy can clear it and then walk to the bottom lane. That one hits, they can clear it, and you can just keep playing the game back and forth. But if you make them collapse at the one time, then this is what happens. Legacy, they cannot contest bot because they've chosen to defend mid instead, and then you just get things for free. So very nice setup here from Bombers. They do have potential of the dive. Let's see if they do pull the trigger.
Yeah, well, they can just defend that cannon minion back there. They haven't really got the range to step forward and pick that one off. Xayah has to really step into no man's land there, and there's a lot of potential damage coming through. Mimic pushing down mid here. He's no super minions. Paparize takes a lot of damage. Does make it back through his base gate, but the pressure still on the base. These turrets, both at half health, as this siege continues here.
Volkan playing a risky game there, dashing into the Cocoon. It does go wide, unfortunately, so gets away with it. Xayah was in base, and now you can see Legacy kind of staggering their recalls. They can't all leave at one time. Here we go, though.
They go in, Rioma's dived in. In fact, there's the Xayah ult to try and get away. Does escape, but so much damage coming down onto the Legacy lineup. They're forced off their tower. Oh, they've caught the Orianna. Tons of damage coming down. Fear Beyond Death coming through. Hits the Fear, but Paprice is in the pool. Paprice looking to escape here. They get out, but 2 turrets here going down, and the inhibitors are sure to follow.
Only 1 man dead, but the double inhib take is going to be the play here from Bombers. Do they look for the end straight away? They still have Ali Flash. He doesn't have the ultimate, but the combo is certainly still there. They are going to play it safe, as they have done for the majority of this game, honestly. Gold lead is completely enormous. 11,000 here. They have monopoly on every objective on the map. This is going to be a red buff take. Dragon has spawned. They've got all of the previous ones as well, and Legacy just starved of opportunities in this situation, struggling.
Yep, obviously we have got Balkan hanging around in that bot side jungle. They're looking for someone. Saw him approaching Paparazzi for a second, but didn't want anything part of it. Two lanes down now, inhibitors down. Ocean Dragon spawned. Do you even take it at this point? He's go straight to the top lane.
They were just hardcore picking the top side. They want to get up there. They have a little bit of time on their Baron. It's just a sliver. It won't be a useful point of contention. They're not going to have enough to close out the game with. But I feel like the big point to note is that they pulled off that dive with just Lissandra going over the wall, forcing up the Featherstorm with the W. They kind of multi-step engaged. They don't want to blow everything initially because it will just get flashed and it will just get Featherstorm. So Ryoma goes in, gets the summoners. That is...
that's a mistake.
That's a yikes.
That's a mistake. That's okay. No one's perfect in League of Legends, even pro players.
That's...
The question is, will it matter? That happens.
I feel like it won't.
I've seen it happen in a lot of games.
That is certainly not okay. Paprice looking for a very deep flank. He does get around the vision.
He's got to move on from that.
Nice
You got to keep the spike going. They have a big
Chaz.
lead. Mimic pushing in. They've caught Chaz out. He's dead. That's 1 down already. Looking to turn it around. This mid and this bot lane are open. They can push this base down. They can take the turret, take the safe route. They elect for this turret. Paprice in the flank here. Look at him. He's trying to find the fights. There are some vision down. They do sort of keep an eye on him. Oh, look at this base. It's getting opened up. Super minions coming in. This top turret's falling. They're not even going for it. They're going for the win. Vulcan on the side here. There goes Rogue. Big hit. That's 1 dead. There goes Crazy going. It has to flash back to his fountain. That's 1 turret down. That second one's going to fall slowly. Paprice is there. He's not there anymore. He's dead. And there's 1 person left. It's Guts. Can he survive? He's going to live maybe, but his Nexus will not.
Does he
turret's
live?
down.
Are they going to dive?
Are they going to dive him? Surely they don't.
No.
Oh, they're going in.
Oh.
FBI dives a fountain. That is undisciplined play there, but they do get the win. Bombers undefeated at 3-0.
And that was the optimal person to throw into the fountain. FBI sitting on 0 deaths until that point. So his KDA completely untouched. Does not matter. You know, I will say, you called the stopwatch in top lane. You said, will it matter? I think absolutely it did.
Yeah.
Because Mimic could have tanked the fountain and then stopwatched it at the last second. And maybe they could have killed Guts before anybody had to die.
To be fair, if they all ran into that fountain at that point and all died to the fountain laser, I'm not saying it's a good play. The Super Minions would have finished the base off anyway.
No,
that
but
game
my
was
point
over.
is they could have done it. That was a hyper-relevant thing there. No, but Volcan at the end of the game, incredibly annoying. It was 2 inhibs gone. It was... I like the play from Legacy, honestly. Like, you're stuck... We were talking about... Because that was a slow, grindy game. Bombers had the lead from very early, and they just played it all across the map. But Legacy were looking for that big play. Paprice got in behind Vision, and unfortunately, as he was getting into position to set up for that flank, like that was their only option. Flash Vladimir getting a bunch of kills. Unfortunately, Chaz, who has like 10 seconds left on his flash, gets caught out by a combo. He falls down and it fizzles. That was Legacy's last Hail Mary that they could have thrown. Fizzled, and Bombers just a very clean victory.
Very clean victory. They're 3-0, and they're looking really strong in this league.
Yep.
Coming in on paper, they looked good, but like when you see them on paper and when you see them perform, they're 2 different things. They're 3-0. Now, tomorrow, I want to look ahead for them.
Okay.
They play Chiefs.
Okay.
That's a big matchup, because Chiefs right now are 2-0.
Yep.
They're going to play a game later today. We'll talk about them then. But if they can close this week out with a 2-0, you've got to look at them, at least in the first half of this split, as being one of the favorites of this league. Absolutely.
Like 100%. They have the talent on paper. They're performing very successfully, and they're also like that is a clean game. We saw last split, last year, a lot of the top teams would have very, very rough matches against some of the bottom tier teams. But this is very early, before these guys have had too much time to mesh. Obviously, there's pre-existing synergy. I feel like Mimic and Balkan have been friends before this point. FBI and Rogue obviously coming from the same team in order, so they have pieces across the board, but this is only 2 weeks into the split, and that is a very clean performance.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. It's not the fact that they beat Legacy, it's how they did it to me that I'm impressed with.
Great. Well, fantastic. You've heard from us. I've got clearly run out of clever throws, so I'm just going to send it over to Nick Boy.
Yes, you have. They, from start to finish, there was never any doubt.
Nope, not at all. That's the kind of thing where you look at our predictions, you look at what we're tipped, you look at how it was played on Summoner's Rift as well, and you say that's all expected, basically. The one surprise that I think that was actually thrown in was the Victor being locked in for the bottom
I don't think it was a surprise. So I'll let you know a little bit of a secret about FBI. He just plays whatever he's going to play on the game, like during the week, like on game day. So like the whole week he's been playing
Like scrims and everything.
Scrims, solo queue, everything. I watch a lot of Victor's solo queue games because he's an entertaining player to watch, and cheekily duo queues with a couple of my team players still. And he was playing Vladimir Victor pretty much all week in solo queue. So at League of Origin, he showed that he can play majors. On order, like, and you know, once again, like a bit of a leak, we actually thought he was like a really good Vladimir Yasuo player. So there was this whole thing that he can't like play non-traditional AD carries, and we're like, hang on a second, we think he's like really, really good at this role. If we could have had more Yasuo Vladimir games, we certainly would have picked it up. So I think I was expecting that as well. The only thing I will say this game is that Ryoma kind of loses touch with the game at times. Like, this is the one criticism that I have over the whole of the Bobbers lineup.
Yeah.
Like, they'll be like, we're going to do Dragon. And Ryan is like, I'm just going to check their red. I'm just going to see what's going on in Raptor Pit, like, for a second. Like,
Do
hey, guys.
you reckon that's overconfidence, or is it a team cohesion thing, or he's just doing Ryoma?
I think this is what makes Ryoma like one of the scariest players in the league, is he's just very unpredictable.
Yeah.
And a lot of those times, if you run into and check the Raptor Pit and there's just a jungler there, he kills the jungler, you get a 5v4 advantage off nothing because you shouldn't go for that play. Then other times, you know, you check it and there's a jungler, a mid laner, a support, an AD carry, and everyone else, and then you die and then it looks silly. But I actually think it's one of those things that actually makes him a very dangerous player at times.
Being unpredictable in League of Legends is a gift and a curse in many different ways. And you're right, when someone is good enough at League of Legends, the unpredictability that can come with that can actually just result in outplays. You know, it can result in being at the right place at the right time and just being good enough to make it work.
Yeah.
But I think against the better teams, that unpredictability can also be a curse. You know, it's something that gets you caught out of position. 5v4 against you really can hurt them.
And it's also why, you know, I'm sure that he's praying for a meta shift as well, because the mid lane champion pool at the moment just doesn't allow unpredictability. Ryoma does not want to run around, play Urgot, Sion, Lysandra. Like, he wants to be on, like, Cassiopeia, Azir, Yasuo, these kinds of picks. And, you know, mid lane champion pool right now just sucks for the mid laners that are playing like volatile League of Legends style. So I think that, you know, as soon as the meta shift comes in, like, you'll actually see plays like that like probably work more often than not for Tommy.
Well, from unpredictable players to someone who's incredibly predictable, predictably good, it's FBI with Benji.
Thanks, Nick Boy. I'm joined by FBI after his amazing week 2 win. How do you feel after that win? You said you were a bit sick, or Jake said you were a bit sick coming into the game.
Not really, no.
No? Oh, okay. He's making excuses for you before you even start the game. Okay,
Yeah.
we saw you, Victor. Now, last week you played a lot of traditional AD carries. Are you trying to work these majors in as part of the meta to be unpredictable? Like, why are you picking these up?
Like, no, I think I'll just play what I think is good, and they've been playing a lot of Victor bot in LCK. I think he's really strong. He has wave clear. Like, you can sit mid, get prio. It also doesn't actually has a pretty strong lane phase. Like, I feel like after you get your first upgrade and Lost Chapter, you actually bully out other ADs. So we've just been having like quite a bit of success on Victor, so I just thought I'd bully it out today.
Okay, fair enough. Is that going to continue, you think, as the patch changes? Are you looking to play
I've
back to
actually
ADs?
really read the AD patch notes, but yeah, probably. I don't know. I haven't actually read the notes
Do you
yet.
prefer playing them over like traditional ADs, or do you prefer
Yeah,
being
I
on
do,
the...
because I've always played ADs. It's like it gets a bit boring, you know.
It's
Like
stale.
I like playing Victor, just running around like zapping people and yeah.
Yeah, no, we can fill that word in for sure.
Yeah.
This game, obviously, you came into this week. You've got 2 games this weekend, actually. You've got, obviously, this game against Legacy, and you've got one tomorrow against Chiefs. That's a big game, actually. Did you expect this game to go this way, or how would you think about it?
The game today?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was. We were all really confident heading into the game today. I didn't think there was like really any weakness we had when we matched up against them. So I think everyone was pretty confident, and we're just as confident for tomorrow. So
Fair enough. So you're 3-0 now. You're looking great in this league. I've said you're one of the favourites, in fact, so far. Still a lot of games to go, though. So, you know, wait and see. How do you feel coming into tomorrow's game against the Chiefs, who are also undefeated and also looking very good?
yeah, I think the Chiefs are probably the second best team at the moment. Honestly,
And
I
you're
think
the first?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course. Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm just
no-
clarifying, making sure there's a team in there.
Yeah. No, I think Chiefs are pretty good, but I just feel like their players are just a little bit worse than all of ours roll to roll.
Okay.
So I think we'll prove that tomorrow.
So you just basically beat them across the lanes tomorrow? Is that
I think so, yes.
That's
Yeah.
fair enough. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm going to send it back to Nick Boy, who's joined on the couch by Ejim and Rusty.
Can't get rid of me.
Can't get rid of you. We tried.
You did.
We've tried every game.